Welcome to episode 10 of the Fitasylum podcast. Today we're joined by Holly. Holly, do you want to tell us a little bit about your coaching and business?
So on Instagram, I'm Holly, the Menopause coach, and I help menopausal women through quite a stressful time of life, help them to lose weight, regain confidence, and I do that in the gym and online.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing that for?
Just over a year now.
Excellent. And we've asked Holly to jump on because she actually did her personal training course with Fitasylum. She's been very successful. We absolutely love her content and we want to share her story with like-minded students, and hopefully it'll help some people listening to the podcast. So tell us a little bit about why you wanted to become a personal trainer.
So I got into lifting weights probably about 4 years ago. Realised that actually lifting weights as a woman isn't going to make you big and bulky. I'd always been the skinny girl, so I kind of wanted to actually put on weight, which is usually the opposite way around to most women. So I thought, if I can do it, I'd like to show other women how they can do it as well. So that's kind of what got me into that.
I love that. Do you think more people, because I'm looking at Cora in particular, a lot of people go to the gym now to actually put weight on, where I think when I started 13 years ago, that would never be the case.
Yeah, I think it has changed. I think women are a lot more clued up and actually want that more toned physique. Yeah. So like looking a little bit more muscly, because not only does it, well, for some women that's the aesthetic that they want, but it's also better for your health as well. Especially for women as we get older, like osteoporosis and things is quite common, especially going through menopause. So if you've got more muscle, it's going to protect your bones and things like that as well.
Awesome. No, some great knowledge, advice already from Hall. And in terms of your own personal journey, how successful were you and what did you enjoy about training? Like what made you keep coming back?
So it's lifting heavy weights. I get a real buzz out of doing that. There's a real satisfaction when you can deadlift 80 kilos or whatever it is that you're doing, and then just that buzz after the workout, and then seeing your physique change as well is amazing. It takes a long time, like it's probably 3 years down the line I'm only really starting to notice, the changes. So yeah, that's kind of what keeps me going.
Well, I suppose that goes back to your last piece of content you put out about consistency.
Exactly.
So where can we find you on social media?
So I'm Holly _menopause_coach.
Awesome. So go check Holly out. She produces some excellent content. And tell us a little bit about your PT course with Fitasylum. Holly was actually one of my first students that I taught in person.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was really concise, and obviously you and Nathan were brilliant trainers. So not only was it like the practical side, but all the knowledge as well, but not just learning all that side of it. It was actually like the business side of it, which was really helpful, which wasn't necessarily in the course, but that's something that you went into with us, which was really beneficial because you kind of get thrown into it and you sink or swim kind of thing.
No, that's definitely why we made the podcast, and we're trying to produce products such as the Fitasylum mentorship program. Because we do feel like there is a huge gap with the course as a whole, and within as part of the industry as well. Personal trainers go into the industry and think it's just about coaching, where a lot of the time it is about that business aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And we want to help people create, businesses that can provide for them, their families, and really, really make it a sustainable career. Mm-hmm. So what about the business side did you enjoy? Because I know you really enjoy the business side of it now.
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's been a lot to learn, but I think you set out to become a PT, but actually my long-term goal is to become a business owner. So that's kind of more with like the online side, so getting clients online, but actually running a business rather than being a coach.
Yes.
So eventually, having staff and having people that are going to help become a successful business and kind of get like menopause care out there as well, because there's not a lot of personal trainers that are kind of specialising in that kind of area.
That's really interesting, because I was speaking to a lady at the weekend and she was telling me in her area they don't offer hormone therapy, which I was under the impression in the UK it was offered everywhere for all GPs, and she was just under the impression that it wasn't available to her.
Oh, right.
Because she'd gone into early menopause, which it took a long time to diagnose, and obviously they were expecting her to be a little bit later on down the cycle, I guess. So it's really interesting the work you're doing, and I think it's amazing that you have got into such a broad subject that isn't really well understood, and definitely isn't talked about as much. So what made you go into discussing menopause and try to help people with menopause?
So it first started when I had a perimenopausal client, kind of opened my eyes to everything. Like, I had no idea about anything. Like, you're told about periods and that, and then menopause isn't talked about at all. I mean, my mum didn't talk about it at all. So I kind of went down like this menopause rabbit hole, discovered loads of stuff, and then at the end of last year got diagnosed with early menopause myself. So it was kind of like, okay, this is my path, this is what I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of given me more of a fire to like put the information out there. And I get women on a daily basis telling me how helpful it's been just to see that information out there.
Awesome. And just for people listening, do you want to explain what perimenopause is, and early menopause, and just menopause in general?
Yeah, so early menopause, or POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, is when you start menopause before the age of 40. So there's various reasons this can happen. They don't always know. It can be medically induced, it can be you've had a hysterectomy, or it can just run in the family. Like for me, my mum was early and my auntie was early, which again, my mum never told me. So it was a bit of a shock.
Do you think that's because it's a taboo subject?
I just think my mum kind of thought that she breezed through it, which looking back now, I don't think she did.
No. It's very interesting that, isn't it?
Yeah, knowing now what I know, I don't think she did breeze through it. And all these little signs and stuff that I see with myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, that was what I saw in my mum. So yeah, that's kind of like early menopause. And then perimenopause can last between 8 to 10 years, usually starting in your 40s, because menopause is actually only one day. So menopause is when you've had no period for 12 months, and then on the next day, that's menopause. Wow. And then after that, you're postmenopause. Right. Which not a lot of people know. No, exactly. So perimenopause is when you're going to have a lot of the symptoms leading up to menopause, so like irregular periods, hot flushes, night sweats. But there's like 50 plus symptoms, and not everybody knows all of them. They could just put it down to, I'm getting older, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that, and not kind of clicking that, oh, actually I could be in perimenopause.
Well, I went down a similar path to yourself. I had a couple of clients that I'd coached for a long time, and then one of them in particular was having some severe effects of it. Mm-hmm. She was a very, very strong powerlifter, but then suddenly, even with just a barbell, she was losing balance, going a little bit dizzy, and she ended up getting vertigo and stuff like that. And that's what made me, like yourself, read up about it. How can I help people? I learned a lot about the different type of glands, the endocrine system, and basically just how it works a little bit more. And it was really enlightening for me. But in the end, I was like, I'm probably not qualified enough to help the client enough. So I passed on to a nutritionist and also a GP who specialised in it. And I was surprised to find there's very, very few specialists out there around this area. There's also a physiotherapist that helps with menopause, and the chiropractor that I found within my research. And one of them is based in Preston, so it works really well for this client. So it's really interesting. So have you found other people that you can kind of like, I guess, collaborate with around this subject in particular?
I've not reached out to anybody. There's a few people that I follow on Instagram, like nutritionists and things, which is always going to help, because diet is a big thing that you need to look at through menopause, because you need to be eating more protein and things like that. But unless it's kind of down the medical route, there isn't a lot of people out there that are specialising in it. I mean, a lot of the clinics as well are private. Like, GPs are very uneducated, unfortunately. I don't think it's mandatory that they have to learn about menopause in their training, which is a bit shocking, seeing as though half the population is going to go through it, and it's for like at least 10 years of your life. So yeah, there's not that many out there.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned GPs, because I did have a debate with a student that is currently on the course, He's 64 years old, and his job was to manage GPs in the Northwest.
Wow.
So he's got a wealth of experience, and I was in the same boat as you. Why don't GPs understand physical exercise? Why don't they understand menopause? Why don't they understand hormone therapy? And he just said, look, this is the spectrum they have to deal with. We have to go off what's the most common issues, but also it's their workload that needs managing.
Yeah.
So he said the biggest problem is GPs are probably overworked in the UK. And without going down a political route, I think when we get Roger on, he'll be able to elaborate on this, and he enlightened me to just show me that probably GPs probably couldn't deal with this because they can't deal with injuries properly.
Yeah.
So especially sports related injuries, especially for people who are active as well, they really struggle with dealing with people around that sort of area. As the most common advice given to them is stop exercising, which is just ridiculous. So it's how do we create a system that works? Obviously you talked a little bit there about a lot of the industry is private now for the care for menopause, but in other countries it works really well, doesn't it? So like in Turkey and Germany and America, hormone therapy clinics are just everywhere. You know, they're really accessible. So why don't you think they're as accessible in the UK?
I think it's getting better. From what I know, there's a lot more menopause clinics kind of popping up. And I've actually seen, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's one in Sheffield where they're getting nurses in to offer cheaper appointments. So it's more affordable for everybody, for women to get the care that they need. So I just don't think it's ever been talked about as much as it is now.
Yes.
So, and I think that's the main reason. Once something is brought to people's attention, then I think change starts to happen, which I think we're now in the process of.
Well, it was actually a lady from Sheffield who said it wasn't available via the NHS.
Ah, okay.
She was referred to a private surgery, or a private practice, I should say.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I don't understand why that is. Surely it should be offered on the NHS. But I think it was just because she was so early. Like, I think she's late 20s.
Okay, yeah, so she is super early.
And I think that's something she's had to constantly, basically she had to go get it tested privately and stuff like that, and so that's why she's a little bit upset about it. But they just referred her to a private clinic for the test, and then I've obviously said you can go get your therapy through that. But I've seen, when I read about it, because it really intrigued me, is it true that the UK have started a yearly card that they can pay for it a lot cheaper now? So do you want to explain that to our people listening? So
it's a prepayment prescription card.
Yes.
There is one out there anyway, but it's like, I think it's over £100 for the year, and you can get as many prescriptions as you want.
Yes.
But this is just for HRT, and I think it's £18 something for the year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then the women can get as much HRT.
That literally just started this month, hasn't it? In April.
April. Yeah.
So I read about it and I thought that's a fantastic initiative.
Yeah.
And hopefully that means everyone will be offering it in the UK soon. But yeah, that was really, really good insight into your knowledge and that kind of the service you offer. But tell us a little bit more about your PT journey. So started personal training a year ago, as well as working your 9-to-5 job. How was that?
Hard. So Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then evenings and weekends in person PTing, and then online as well. But I enjoy it. I want to do it. Like, this is like, I've found like my passion at 35. I've found it. So I know that eventually this is what I'll be doing full time. So that's all I'm aiming for at the minute.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's very relatable, especially yesterday on, which will be episode 8, we had Hannah on, and she talked about how she just loved doing this job, so it didn't feel like a job. And obviously it sounds like something similar to yourself. You know, you don't mind doing them 3 hours a night or whatever it is at weekends.
Yep.
So how is it split at the moment? Obviously you've got 9 to 5 job at the moment. Is it a desk? I don't know. It's a desk job for a chemical company. Is that correct? Yeah, I remember now. And when do you PT and do your online coaching then?
So Saturday mornings I have in person, and Tuesday evenings I have in person. At a gym in Bakewell, Ely Fitness.
Nice.
It's a nice little gym.
Little shout out.
Yeah, little private gym. It's mainly an older demographic as well, which is nicer, and there's a lot of menopausal women there, so it's worked out quite well. And then the online is basically every free moment I have. Like, I'll get home and I'll like create content, plan content, message people, check in with clients, programs. All that is just in between everything else, basically.
Well, I actually advised your content planning kind of formula to a student recently. So do you want to tell people how you plan your content and how you kind of go about it?
Yeah, so it's an Excel spreadsheet, and then I'll just plan. I used to do it for the month, but I'm kind of doing it per week now.
Is that to stay with trends?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah,
and if there's any kind of like songs to jump on or templates and stuff you find that are trending, then just use them to hopefully boost your engagement and your followers and stuff.
And that leads me nicely on how did you learn about this?
By constantly doing it again and again and again and again. Like I had no idea. Like when I first started talking to camera, I was like rabbit in the headlights, and I didn't have a clue. Yeah, I didn't have a clue. But the more you do it, the better you get.
And it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
people ask me all the time, Dec, how do you make content? And then they'll message me, go, I'm not going to post that because it's really rubbish. I just say post it.
Post it.
Yeah, post it 100%. Would that be your advice?
Oh yeah, if you care too much about what you look like, then you won't succeed. Because
you'll never post.
Exactly, you'll never post. Like it doesn't matter. Like you turn up as women, turn up with no makeup on because it's relatable. Yes. The more you're yourself and the more relatable you are, the more clients you're going to get. If you act, people will
authenticity.
Tell. Exactly. Yeah.
Topic 2 for this podcast is we're going to talk about your first year as a personal trainer. What was your goal for the first year of PT then? So, like, did you have any aspirations in particular? Certain number of hours, clients, monetary?
Not really. I just kind of wanted to get the experience of working one-to-one with clients, because I think that's the best way you learn, isn't it? By doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do everything in the classroom, but until you've actually got a physical person who's actually going to pay you to help them, you're a bit like, oh God. Like first one's like, oh. But then, once you've done a few, you're fine. But yeah, I didn't have any goals as such. It was just to learn as much as I could.
Nice, I love that. Learn as much as you could. That's a great, I think for people listening, if you are looking to be a personal trainer, managing your expectations and a simple goal of learning as much as you can will really set you up for the future, I guess. And what has been the biggest challenge of your first year as a personal trainer?
Learning how to run a business.
Yes.
So, you've got all the tools to be a PT, but actually nobody tells you like taxes and
UTR numbers.
Like, I'm like, what? So
managing accounts day to day.
Yeah, exactly. Things like
business
that.
Account.
Yeah, business account.
Expenses.
I know. It just like blew my mind. But you just learn as you go.
You do.
You just ask people who know more than you.
I hated it at first, but then I actually became like a really big geek and loved it. Mm-hmm. And found myself watching YouTube videos on it and like, now I actually enjoy it, which is strange. I actually miss it. So obviously I sold my gym in October. I think you came to my gym, didn't you? Once? Yeah, we did a workshop. And I actually miss that side of things now, so it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. And what was your biggest success of year 1 as a personal trainer?
I think finding my niche.
Yes, we discussed this actually on the last day.
Find your niche, which especially if you're going to do online, you have to be niche.
Yeah, because it's such a overcrowded market.
Yeah, and everybody can train somebody, but if you can find a niche that you resonate with and that you actually want to work with, you're not just following the money.
Passion and authenticity again,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so finding that and kind of finding a community of women who are really struggling is really nice, that just to offer that help, even if they're not going to sign up with you. Like I talk to women on a daily basis in my messages.
Yes.
Just to offer help and advice because they're really struggling. Sometimes they just want someone to talk to.
But that suits your personality. Mm-hmm. It piques your interest. Mm-hmm. It's your passion, which makes you authentic. So if I try to teach or talk about menopause, I'm probably not as passionate about you. In fact, I'm definitely not as passionate about you. So, but as opposed to like teaching something like powerlifting or weightlifting, I'd just be able to talk all day about it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the biggest difference. when students who are listening to this podcast or fellow professionals, if you are thinking about a pivot or a change in your career, think of something that's just going to be enjoyable every day. Like you talked about it already. You probably enjoy reading about it. You probably enjoy researching. Do you want to tell people about the talks you've been given as well? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, so I did a talk to some PTs on menopause, like things to help them out. And then I'm doing like collaborations with other PTs to help their clients when they're going through menopause, talking about, HRT to symptoms to how to manage them, things like that. And then I'm also doing my own online workshop as well, which is on the 5th of May.
Ooh, and where can people see this online workshop? Can anyone access it, or is it specific to?
Yeah, no, it's on my Instagram in my bio. If you click on there, you can get tickets through there.
Nice. Do you use TapLink, or what do you use?
Linktree.
Linktree.
Yeah.
Nice. And what are you most excited about for 2023?
By the end of 2023, I would at least like to be part-time at my 9 to 5, so
Wow.
I can concentrate on this. If I got to leave that job altogether, that'd be great, but that's the goal, to be at least part-time.
So is that part-time mean working 2 or 3 days a week?
Probably 3.
Yeah.
2 would be amazing, but realistically, 3 at my 9 to 5 and then an extra 2 on my business.
And what is your one tip to students currently in education?
Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because you might think it's stupid, but someone else might be thinking the same. So ask questions.
If I remember correctly, you were quite shy on the first few sessions.
Yeah.
And then after that, as the course progressed, it's like you came with a list
Yeah.
of questions, which is fantastic, because
Yeah.
we love students who come with questions, because one, it means they're passionate, it means they're really, really interested and invested in it. So it was really useful. And you're probably asking questions that other students want to hear as well. So that's excellent. So I love that one. Ask the questions. And one tip for fellow professionals.
2.
Okay, well, you can have 2.
Network
Yes, huge.
and find your niche.
Find your niche. Awesome. And I think if you network anyway, you will find your niche.
Yeah.
Because people will say, well, what do you specialise in?
Mm-hmm.
What do you specialise in? What do you specialise in?
Mm-hmm.
And you can only give one answer.
Yeah.
That's really, really exciting. Again, just one last shout out. Where can we find you on socials?
It's Holly_the_menopause_coach.
Awesome, guys. And if you really want to learn a little bit about menopause, I highly recommend checking out Holly's Instagram. Is there a YouTube page coming eventually?
That is a plan, because I think that'd be really good.
Yes.
Just time constraints at the moment, but
100%.
it's something I'd like to do.
And just for anyone listening, obviously, if you did hear some clanging in the background, we are at Salvatore's restaurant in Penwitham, so the bottles do get collected on a Tuesday, and we're very grateful to use this wonderful restaurant, really. Best Italian in Preston. But yeah, also, one last thing is, can I ask you a favour? Could we put like an example of your content planner in the description below?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So guys, if you want to check out a content planner, get to the description below. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.